what Nietzsche and Heidegger and then Derrida gave us is where we are today. I think that we even if we're not in a philosophical circle, I think our mindset and our sensibility, and I know the word sensibility already brought up a lot last night, so. But I think that where we are is through their thinking. So, in my mind, this threefold critique, threefold thinkers, broke down metaphysical thinking, and they brought us to an entire collapse of absolutes. This opened the space for new possibilities, but on the other hand, as I said, it also closed down a lot of securities in the world. Even outside philosophical and academic circles, these three thinkers have definitely had an impact on modern times. And all you have to do is sort of look at, I think I read an article in the New York Times and they were using the term deconstruction. And you keep seeing these terms. I'm not saying that they necessarily use them in the right way, but it's a term that we're familiar with now. And for some, and perhaps some of you today, and it was myself, I was brought up in a somewhat conservative background of thinking that right is right and wrong is wrong, and you just know. It created a lot of anxiety for me, which I think brought me to philosophy. I needed some reference to thinking that wasn't necessarily religion, but it coincides for me. It gives me a place in the world. So on one hand, it gives us an opening. On the other hand, it gives us a closure. Within this space, the act of decision is of utmost importance because within this ambiguity, we have to make decisions. And those decisions are not based on a reference to a clear idea. So it's really a true decision. So when we decide now, we not only are responsible for that decision, but we have to follow within the path of that without saying, well, it was told to me that I need to do this, and therefore if I did something wrong or right, it wasn't within me. It was from an outside source. So I believe and I think existentialism as a philosophy is close to me in that way, that Sartre, for example, brings up a lot of the anxiety that is necessary for being in this world. I don't remember the quote, maybe somebody, philosopher, who knows, that he said we're condemned to be free. I don't know what text that was in, but that says a lot to me. I mean, right? It's kind of like, my goodness, I'm condemned because I'm free. I'm not trying to reach freedom. Freedom is already instilled within my being. So, an essential point here that I'm trying to hopefully get to is that as a society, as individuals, as teachers, as workers, as fathers, as mothers, whatever we are in our life, I believe we must try, at least, to learn to embrace ambiguity in our lives. I think that that's essential, the starting point for thinking about the good. I'll get to that, but I think that we have to first suspend everything before we even start in our movement toward. So, how can we bring, for me, this always already uncertainty of our becoming, the movement of our existence, into the ontology of who we are as our being, not as our personality or as our identity, who we think we are, but as our being as such. Without this, I believe we only have a world where absolutes are always at odds with other absolutes. That's the nature of absolutes. They're is no absolute that cannot be at odds with other absolutes. The world we live in, I think the violence of the world is in relation to absolutes opposing themselves. And I'm sure I don't want to go into that right now, but we can hopefully have a discussion about the world of terrorism and all of that I think is based not on religion as such, but on the idea of an absolute within one's thinking. So, for me, I'm trying to say that there is no end or synthesis in a Hegelian sense, that we're not going to reach some final beautiful end, and therefore I think we need to start radically deconstructing and not even thinking in terms anymore of these absolutes. Absolute thinking exists in a logic of totalization, a totalization which is always closed around the logic of the same. The logic either leaves us in a world of opposing absolutes, or even worse, an attempt at totalized unity through the coming together as an organized one. I believe it is of utmost importance, therefore, to find a way of thinking, being, and expression which not only thinks, but resists all forms of totalization. We must find a starting point or an opening of thought toward being as nothing other than continuous becoming. We know it's happening, we just don't embrace it. I don't want to go into it now, but I think that memory is something I'm very interested in, because memory is always an attempt at trying to stop that very nature of our becoming. So we try to remember so that we can fix ourselves into a world which we can't. And so memory is a really beautiful attempt, I think, at finding ourselves because we can't find ourselves. So, the starting point here, I think, opens us today to thinking on ethics, a sensing within ethical becoming, and hopefully, therefore, a new way of thinking and acting in relation to the concept of the good. In a moment, I'll talk about the relationship between thinking and being, because a lot of us tend to think that thinking is an abstraction, but I've been reading a lot of neuroscience lately, and I can't go into it today. I really wanted to integrate it into here, but the relationship between thinking and the body is much more interrelated than we think. Thinking is actually, the body thinks. That's our immune system, right? I mean, our immune system is a memory. That's why we get shots and we get all of this, because the body needs to remember that it had something in order to not get it again. That's probably a whole other topic, but it's very interesting to me. So, what I'm hoping to investigate today in our discussion is not only the relation we have to the good, but a relation itself. What does it mean to relate? What does it mean for us to be with each other? And Heidegger, of course, with his concept of Mitsein, is anyone familiar with that term? For Heidegger, being is not being, it's Mitsein, or it's with. So my being is nothing without you, and your being, therefore, is nothing without me. So we are together in our being. So I'll continue then with a proclamation, even though I don't. Yes?
When you're talking about being with another, are you excluding anything but humans?
I'm sorry, what?
Are you excluding